This is one of the most popular supplements in the fitness world. But what does it actually do?
If you take creatine, you will gain weight.
What happens to your body when you take creatine every day? The benefits are massive and immediate.
I just found out that there's people that go to the gym, but they don't take creatine. So do we not want gains?
Yeah, creatine. Most people swear by it. They claim to have massive results, and it's even said it would improve brain function. But is this actually true? Well, let me tell you, there are a lot of misconceptions about creatine, and most of them are totally wrong. Hi, I'm Robert, fitness coach and student physical therapy, and today we're diving into the world of creatine. It's a supplement many people are taking, and I've been using it since I was only 12 years old. So I definitely know some of the effects, and I'm gonna tell you it's an amazing supplement, but not in every way. So let's start with the basics. What actually is creatine? Creatine is, with over 1,000 studies, the most researched supplement in the world. It's made up of amino acids, and it helps supply your muscles with quick, direct energy. Inside your muscles there are molecules called ATP, short for adenosine triphosphate, because there are 3 phosphates connected, and it's the primary energy source of your body. When ATP splits up into ADP plus a separate phosphate, energy comes free, and that's powering muscle contraction, and ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. But now that single phosphate is gone, your body is looking for a new one to create new energy. And this is where creatine comes into play. About 90 to 95% of the creatine in your body is stored inside of your muscles. And creatine acts as a phosphate donor. So when ATP becomes ADP, creatine can immediately resupply that ADP with another phosphate. So ADP becomes a new ATP, what your muscle then breaks down in ADP plus P to produce energy again. And so the cycle continues. So now you know what creatine really does. Let's talk about how your body gets it. Your body naturally produces creatine in the kidneys at a rate of about 1 gram a day. Another way to gain some creatine is through your diet. Creatine is, as you know by now, mostly stored inside of your muscles. So foods like meat and fish contain a lot of creatine. Plant-based foods, on the other hand, like vegetables, also contain some small amount of creatine, but this is just a fraction of what is provided from meat. So if you are a vegetarian, supplying creatine might not be a bad idea. So you might be wondering what the side effects are when supplying creatine, but let's talk about the facts and fictions first, and believe me, there's a lot of nonsense out there. One of the most common claims floating around the internet is that creatine causes hair loss. Well, I can tell you right now, that's not the case. And here's why people have the misconception. As I mentioned earlier, creatine is the most researched supplement in the world. Thousands of studies, all with consistent results, but no study is ever completely perfect or immune to misinterpretation. For this fiction, we have to look at a study done in South Africa. In this study, rugby players supplemented creatine, and researchers measured changes in their hormone levels. And the result, no major changes except for a small increase in DHT. Now, DHT is a hormone that plays a significant role when it comes to hair loss. So, based on this one study, people made a conclusion that creatine causes hair loss. And there are even videos going around on TikTok telling you that creatine makes you bald and therefore makes people scared. But no, here's the thing. This is literally the only study that shows that kind of result. All other studies on creatine show no changes in DHT level at all. So we are most likely looking at a change finding. And on top of that, even in this one study, there was no actually hair loss measured, just a small increase in DHT. So, my friends, no, creatine does not cause hair loss. Well, that being said, let's talk about brain function. Yeah, there's a myth going around that creatine improves brain function, that it makes you smarter, and some even say it helps fight depression, but is this actually true? Well, no. If you're a healthy individual, creatine does not make you smarter at all. Like I mentioned earlier, around 90 to 95% of creatine is stored in muscle tissue. The other 5 to 10% is found in places like your kidneys and your brain. And yes, your brain does need creatine to function properly. But here's the thing. In healthy people, the brain is already fully saturated with creatine. That means adding more by supplementation doesn't do anything. Could it help if you're creatine deficient? Sure, but if that's the case, you're likely under medical supervision and you won't be watching this video right now. So bottom line, we can safely debunk the myth that creatine boosts brain function in healthy people. The next myth we're going to tackle is the idea that creatine causes kidney damage. But this is simply a misunderstanding of how the body works. Here's the thing. Doctors assess kidney function by measuring a molecule called creatinine. Sounds familiar, right? That's because creatinine is a breakdown product that comes from the natural conservation of creatine in your muscles. The more creatine you have, the more creatinine your body produces. Now think of your kidneys as a recycling center, processing and filtering waste all day long. Creatinine is one of those waste products. When your kidneys are healthy, they filter it out efficiently. And doctors can use the level of creatinine in your blood to estimate how well your kidneys are working. But here's where people get confused. If you supplement with creatine, your body naturally produces more creatinine. Not because your kidneys are failing, but simply because there's more creatine available to break down. Creatine increases the amount of waste your body produces, not the amount your kidneys can process. So yes, creatinine levels in your blood might be a bit higher if you're taking creatine, but that doesn't mean your kidneys are damaged. It just means your body is processing more of the supplement. So bottom line, higher creatinine from creatine supplementation does not equal kidney damage. It's a completely normal and harmless response. So now that we've covered all of the major myths about creatine, let's talk about whether you actually need it and if it can add any value to your training. As I mentioned earlier, creatine is mostly used by the body for quick bursts of energy. And for those who are into sports science, that means creatine is especially effective in the anaerobic alactic energy system. And if you're not quite sure what that means, don't worry. I'm planning to make a video all about different energy systems and how to use them to your advantage. So make sure to subscribe if you're interested in that. But long story short, this system powers short, high intensity efforts. So creatine is especially useful for exercises like weightlifting, sprinting, or fast-paced interval training. That might mean you can squeeze out 1 or 2 extra reps, lift a few extra pounds, sprint a bit faster over 100 meters, or just hold your top speed just a little longer. So if you do any of these types of sports or workouts, I'd absolutely recommend supplementing with creatine. It can give you that small but meaningful performance edge. Now, maybe you're not into short explosive training, but let's say you're more of an endurance athlete. Maybe you do sports like cycling or long distance running, and most of your training happens in the aerobic energy system. So the question is, can creatine also add value to your training? Well, in this case, there's actually much less research compared to strength or power training. But still, there are a few interesting findings. For example, there was a study done where participants ran 30 kilometers. They were split into 2 groups. One group supplemented with creatine, the other didn't. And the results, the group that used creatine experienced fewer muscle-related issues and slightly faster recovery afterwards. So yes, creatine can be helpful in endurance sports, at least in some ways. But there's a catch. Creatine also causes your muscles to retain extra water, which, to be fair, is great for muscle fullness and appearance, but in sports like cycling, this means you might be carrying an extra 4 to 5 pounds of extra body weight. And in endurance events, every pound counts. So does creatine help in endurance training? Yes, it can, but how much it benefits you depends on the type of sports you're doing. Now let's talk about sports that combine both aerobic and anaerobic demands. Think about sports like football, basketball, rugby. These are endurance-based sports, but they also include short, intense sprints, jumps, or explosive movements. In those cases, creatine can be very useful because it supports the anaerobic burst without hurting your overall performance. But keep in mind, no healthy person needs creatine. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, creatine is something you can take to optimize your training. But chances are you're not in a creatine deficit. And honestly, if you were, you'd probably be under medical supervision and not be watching this video right now. So now that you know when creatine can be helpful for you, the next question is, how much should you take and how often? Well, the general recommendation is between 2 to 5 grams per day, which works fine for most people, but if you want to ensure full saturation based on your body weight, I personally recommend taking 1 gram of creatine per 22 pounds of body weight. So for example, if you weigh around 180 pounds, that would come down to about 8 grams per day to fully saturate your muscles. And creatine is something you need to take daily, not just on training days. That's why I suggest picking a consistent time each day to take it, so it becomes part of your routine. Personally, I take it in the morning to get up with my vitamins. It just keeps things simple and consistent. Another thing you hear a lot is that when you first start taking creatine, you need to go through a loading phase. That basically means taking about 4 times the regular dose, usually around 20 grams per day, for 5 to 7 days straight, before continuing your standard daily dose. This method saturates your muscles with creatine much faster. But here's the thing. If you just start with a regular dose of 3 to 5 grams per day, depending on your body weight, your body will also become fully saturated. It just takes a bit longer, typically around 2 to 4 weeks, but is that really a big deal? Probably not. If you're planning to take creatine for months or even years, that extra month at a slightly lower saturation level isn't going to make or break your progress. That said, if you do want to go through a loading phase to get the benefits a couple of weeks earlier, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that either. And lastly, let's talk about what kind of creatine you should actually take. There are a ton of different forms out there, but listen, just stick to the standard creatine monohydrate. Don't get fooled by fitfluencers or supplement companies claiming their special formula is better. Creatine monohydrate is the most researched, the safest and the most effective form of creatine available. Period. In fact, some alternatives have been proven not to work at all. Take creatine ethyl ester for example. That was a big hype a few years ago, but research has shown it to be completely ineffective. Some brands also claim their version of creatine is better absorbed, but creatine monohydrate already has an absorption rate of 99 to 100%, so honestly, you're just wasting your money. Just stick with the basic stuff, skip the marketing fluff and don't fall for the hype. So there you go, another myth busted. And one final tip, buy your creatine from trusted companies like Optimal Nutrition or Upfront if you're that based, so you can be confident you're getting a clean product without any cheap fillers or sketchy additives. So you might ask yourself, does creatine have any side effects? Well, not really. We've already gone through all the false myths surrounding creatine and in the end, there are no major side effects linked to it. Some people report mild gastrointestinal issues like bloating or stomach discomfort, but that's very rare. In fact, this is the only official documented side effect of creatine. So yeah, creatine is a very safe supplement to take. So next time your mom or that one aunt or at your birthday party says creatine is dangerous or compares to drugs, just send them this video, or better yet, let them do some actual research. Creatine is safe. That's not just my opinion, but it's backed by doctors, experts and hundreds of scientific studies as well. Now, if you are one of those rare people who experience side effects, first check if something else in your routine has changed. A lot of people start taking creatine at the same time they change their diet, add other supplements or train harder. So the issue might not be the creatine at all. But if you're sure it is the creatine, then I recommend switching brands. Some cheaper companies add unnecessary fillers or low quality ingredients that might be causing the problem. Stick with the trusted brands and you're good to go. So there you have it. You're officially a creatine expert now. I hope I was able to teach you something new about creatine and help you understand what an amazing supplement it can be. But just remember, creatine is highly effective, but it's not some kind of anabolic steroid like some people on social media make it seem. Hopefully after this video you'll be a bit more skeptical about what TikTok influencers claim when it comes to supplements like this. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and if you're thinking about taking creatine or if you've already been using it, let me know your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear your progress. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, drop them down below. I'm always happy to help. If you found this video helpful, then please leave a like and consider subscribing. It really means a lot to me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!